and they go way back 19th century. There's a phrase, if I'm elected, free beer, which is they literally gave out beer on election day. I mean, way back, and frankly, in New York City, in the wonderful book Gotham, this is chronicled. But the barbecue, which is, of course, a Southern thing and all that, it's really gone nationwide, which is, you go out and you meet, greet, and you do the photo op, and it's like kissing babies. It's like,
you give out food too.
What do you do in England for the barbecue?
I can tell you a great story about what happened in Italy once. I was in Milan, and there were some local elections. We're going back maybe 10 years. And I remember Silvio Berlusconi's party at the time. He had a 10. And then everyone else had a 10. Everybody else's 10 were just these small little things, and they were handing out leaflets. Berlusconi's party, Prosecco, pasta, and a live band. That's what he had in the centre of Milan. And I remember that. I remember turning to my dad thinking, what is this?
I mean, but now that's the norm, right? I mean, you can't, I'm suggesting in Italy that's the norm now.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't experienced it since.
What do they do in England? I mean, what's the barbecue in England?
We don't have things like that.
What I love about what you do, it's literally like 6 weeks, right?
You elect your local MP, basically. So you don't go there and vote for, say, Boris Johnson or Jeremy Corbyn. You vote for your local MP.
And what's interesting, and I'm sure someone out there can correct me if I'm wrong, what's great about this is the political debate really doesn't gain traction with a broad swath of America till after Labor Day, September 4th-ish, 2020, and even into October, until people really, I don't know if that's going to be true this year.
We've got to settle on a candidate first, haven't we?
Oh, the big time settle, and that goes to the conventions, which are totally different than they were 20 years ago.
All of that still to come. Looking forward to that. Coming up on the programme, looking forward to talking about WeWork. A lot of reporting over the weekend that this board is starting to mobilise, and some members are getting set to put some pressure on Mr. Newman.
I did the bond chart, 8.6%, and, it's right on support.
It's not pretty, is it? Do you know who wrote a great piece? It's really worth the read. Professor Galloway of NYU.
You sent that to me, and I did not have time to brief me.
I tweeted it out. It's fantastic. Everything that he thinks is wrong with the company, and then he breaks down the kind of things that he thinks are going to happen in the next 60 days. Some of it very speculative. But interesting nevertheless.
We thank Scott Galloway for his attendance on Bloomberg Surveillance. Again, I can't say enough about his book, It's not about WeDog. It's about Amazon and Facebook and the rest. But I really want to say it's a superb book to throw at the older kids. Shut up and read this. This is Bloomberg.
This is a Bloomberg Market Minute. Stock futures are fluctuating and European stocks retreated as disappointing data in the euro area overshadowed easing concern about trade relations between the U.S. and China. Crude oil lower by 0.5% at $57.80 a barrel. A 178-year-old UK travel company, Thomas Cook, has collapsed under debt after talks with creditors failed, forcing the British government to charter airplanes to bring home more than 150,000 stranded customers. Some WeWork directors are planning to push CEO Adam Newman to step down after the startup delayed its much-anticipated IPO. Bloomberg has learned that officials tied to SoftBank, the largest investor, want Newman out. But it may not be easy to oust Newman. The prospectus indicates that based on the number of shares he controls, he has the power to oust the board. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
To see something far away, you can either get a powerful telescope or you can go there.
Talk about export numbers because they've been quite shocking. Korea, we saw Singapore, Japan too.
Bloomberg Daybreak Asia.
How should investors be positioning?
When you take a look at the consumers in China, it remains challenging.
We go there.
To what extent is access to cheap credit part of the equation?
Tonight at 6 Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening. From the financial capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok on Twitter. This is Bloomberg Radio. This is Bloomberg Surveillance Economics.
The Federal Reserve's independence is crucial.
Central banks should be prepared and not presumptuous.
Finance.
In order to grow, you need to innovate.
Global money doesn't like uncertainty.
Investment.
I think the issue in the market is really more about the possibility of a recession in the next couple of years.
I do think we need to get back to where we have always been, the American dream.
Bloomberg Surveillance with Tom Keene and Jonathan Farrow on Bloomberg Radio.
Good Good morning, everyone. John Farrow and Tom Keene, 8 a.m. Wall Street time. We're 2 hours away from our conversation with William Dudley, the former president of the New York Fed. John, knee-deep in 400 pages of repurchase agreement knowledge training. John, are you smarter than you were Friday?
My weekend wasn't that bad, but I would say I'm a little bit smarter than I was on Friday. At least I hope I am.
Thanks to everybody helping. I mean, I'm good at this, and I've had to get way smarter about some of the minutiae. And by no means do I consider myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't even pretend to be good at this. Priya Misra of TD is very good at this.
What'd she say on the real yield scene?
She expects to see an expansion of the balance sheet in October to tackle some of these issues.
Yes. Many other people calling for that, 400 billion, 380 billion. JP Morgan out with a brilliant essay this weekend on it. A lot of other people as well. And, you know, frankly, I think Mr. Dudley will tell you and me the same thing. He's not an expert either. He defers to real
He's got plenty of experience in this space.
And somebody said, I'm going to give credit to Bank of America Merrill Lynch. It could be off, but to me, it's trust paper. It's all about trust, and that's what could be so fragile.
Well, that trust hasn't been shaken.
Agreed.
And let's be clear about that. This hasn't been a trust issue over the last week.
Could it become one?
Well, I think what most people would concede, if we had to tackle these kind of issues in adverse conditions, that might not be as pretty as what we saw last week.
That'd be like Man U losing. Adverse conditions.
Man U not playing so well at the moment.
Bloomberg Surveillance this morning brought to you by Cone Resnick. Check out Business of Baseball, an original MLB video series exploring the business side of America's pastime. Visit ConeResnick.com/MLB. Cone Resnick Advisory Assurance Tax. Right now, excuse me, with years at Nomura, Richard Windsor joins us here with Radio Free Mobile and just with a lot of good work at Nomura years ago on the dynamics of how you bring a company public. Richard, on We Company, I just have to ask, where have the bankers been on the original prospectus, which was, for all people with great respect to all the good work into it, a comedy act? Where have the bankers been in this debacle?
This is a really good question. And I think what you're really looking at here is, to some degree, the cult of personality of Mr. Son from SoftBank. He is able to convince investors of things that are, you know, when you actually sit down and you go through it piece by piece by piece, seem extremely unlikely. And to be honest with you, it is that cult of personality, it is the hype around we as a technology company, when actually it isn't, and so on and so forth, that I think really is what allowed this whole IPO to get considerably out of hand.
Richard, typically we talk about what is the path of profitability? What is the path to profitability? What's the path to getting this company to deliver an IPO before the year is out? What do they have to do?
Well, it's a great question. They have to do one of two things. They either have to massively slash the valuation so that it's at least close to being in line with peers such as IWG, which is not going to go down very well because you could then see SoftBank writing down its investment by about 95%. Or they have to say, right, we are actually going to slash costs and actually go for profitability. The problem here is it's a double-edged sword because you've based your valuation on growth. If you then go for profitability, all the clients are going to go, hang on a minute, I can get it cheaper down the road, I'm off. Growth disappears, valuation collapses anyway. So you've got a real problem here.
I mean, John,
frankly, I don't think it's IPO ready at all.
To make a note on Eaton, ETN, one of the venerable companies of America industry, they went public July 24th, 1923, and I don't think it was about a cult of personality. That may have a little bit.
Do you want to expand on that?
I'd expand on it and say, look, the heart of the matter, Richard, is these Silicon Valley companies are offering a public offering, which is 6 or 10, at the most 15% of their available shares. There's not even an image here of voting rights for the shareholders as well. Why are we even calling these things IPOs? They're basically a private market stub offering, right?
Well, actually, I'm totally with you on this. I mean, the reason why I haven't, in my analysis, I've not focused on the corporate governance is simply because the valuation is so out of kilter. There's no point even considering it until you get to a reasonable valuation. But I totally agree with you on corporate governance. And, you know, corporate governance has been one of my bugbears for many years.
Well, let's talk about whose problem and whose fault this ultimately is, Richard. Clearly in private markets, there's a lot of money going around. But when it comes to WeWork, there's only been one source of money for them for several years now, and that's been SoftBank. So is the problem SoftBank, and how idiosyncratic is this one issue, WeWork? Or is this a problem that just goes right the way through private markets as far as you're concerned?
I think this is largely a SoftBank issue, and let me explain why. SoftBank has been around for the last few years, putting a lot of money into really high valuations, and they've priced a lot of the other investors out of the market. So that a lot of VCs and PE guys have been complaining these guys are killing us because they just priced them out of the deal. So I think largely it's a SoftBank problem in this. Put as much money in, and eventually it will get there. Fingers crossed. Yeah. And the last 3 IPOs they've done, not so good.
Well, that's fair that you bring that up as a catalyst for Mr. Newman, as he found somebody dumb enough to give him all that money. John, Colgate, they're a small toothpaste company. IPO, March 13th, 1930. I wonder what $100.
What was it like that morning? Talk to me about that morning, Tom.
I wasn't there, but it was at the beginning of the Depression. Colgate goes public in 1930, and again, they weren't looking for charisma or whatever Richard called it.
It's changed. It's changed, and I just wonder whether it will change again. Richard, if we can get away from this sort of cult of personality in Silicon Valley and stop pretending that these companies are tech companies when they're quite clearly not.
But also, I think it should go further than that. I mean, if you look at Google and Facebook and many of these other large Silicon Valley companies, they all have this disproportionate balance between economic interest and voting interest. And in my opinion, in a small company, this is a tiny company that's private, this is less of an issue. You've got to be fast, you've got to be nimble. In a big private company, this has no business being present. I think a great reform would be to completely flatten the shareholding structures of all of these companies. One share, one vote.
What do you think happens to SoftBank from here, Richard?
It's a really good question. They've got the money in the door. The Saudis have been getting uncomfortable, and I was pretty sure that Mubadala also have been getting pretty uncomfortable with, after the IPO of Lyft and now this problem with WeWork. The big question is that they're trying to raise another $100 billion fund, and apparently they're finding it much more difficult than they anticipated. So I think what might happen here is that fund gets delayed, and the company sits back, licks its wounds, and tries to sort out the issue that it's currently facing.
Richard, thank you so much. Richard Windsor with us with Radio Free Mobile here on We Company. Some interesting comments there. I guess this has been widely anticipated, John, and it's nice that they're out a day ahead. As you see, Supreme Court, that's not the United States Supreme Court, that's the UK Supreme Court.
Issuing a ruling on whether the Prime Minister's proroguing of Parliament, the suspension of Parliament in the last month, should have been allowed or not. So they'll issue that ruling tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Unclear, Tom, what happens if they do rule against the Prime Minister.
We just did the politic things with Wendy Schiller of Brown. I'm absolutely fascinated by the Labour Party. I had no idea in a YouGov poll, a third of Labour is Leave. I had no idea.
And some great suspicion as well that the leader of the party is a Brexiteer, Jeremy Corbyn.
That Corbyn wants to leave.
Yes, but has not really come out with a clear plan whatsoever as to what he wants to do.
But that's not true of the Tories, right? Basically, all the Tories want to leave? Am I close?
Well, it depends who you're talking about when you say the Tories. If you're talking about the MPs in Parliament, quite clearly there isn't a majority there whatsoever.
But what about the people?
But when you think about the people, the electorate, yes, the majority of Conservative Party voters would like to leave.
It's absolutely fascinating. Anna Edwards in Brighton. Brighton, you go down to Brighton?
You go down to Brighton.
Is it on the channel?
Not quite. It's on the seaside, though. It's a seaside town.
Okay, I don't know anything.
If you wanted to cross the channel, you'd go to Dover.
Right, I get that. In Calais.
And then you go across to Calais.
Yes.
On a ferry.
Well, I take the train usually.
You take the train.
Is the ferry cool?
You would go from St Pancras to do that.
Is the ferry
the ferry's cool? I mean, that's what I used to do when I was a kid. We used to put the car on the ferry and go across to Europe.
How long does it take, roughly? Like an hour?
A couple of hours. On the ferry, a couple of hours.
Okay. With all that history. Very, very cool. Let's do the history of a data check. We can do that. Futures flat. The VIX a 13 handle a couple days ago. We've had an equity backup 15.35 right now on the VIX. A very quiet screen. I don't want to mince words about it. Yields come in and continue to drive in. The 30-year bond, 2.14%, really come in with a vengeance. What is it, John? 6-7 days in a row?
I think this is 6. This is day 6.
Brent crude comes in 65. We didn't get there, but now 63.84. Oil ebbing is how I'm going to call that, with gold up $10 the ounce, $15.25 the ounce on gold. John Farrow and Tom Keene, don't forget, 10 a.m. this morning, our conversation with William Dudley.
And now for the news from New York City, here is Michael Barr.
Jonathan, Tom, thank you very much. Democrats are giving the president until Thursday to hand over a whistleblower's complaint about President Trump's phone call to the president of Ukraine. President Trump reportedly asked Ukraine's president to investigate businesses in the country connected to Joe Biden's son. It comes as the president is in Manhattan for the start of the UN General Assembly. The president says, though, he will skip today's action summit on climate change. A major inconvenience for global travelers, the 178-year-old Thomas Cook Tour Company, a household name in Britain, collapsed over the weekend, forcing the cancellation of their flights and leaving hotel bills unpaid. That has left hundreds of thousands of vacationers stuck around the world. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and at TikTok, on Twitter, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg Top.
And Michael, thanks so much. Dollar strength this morning, euro 109.85, yen 107.48.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients, and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Working on a tablet has never been so good, whatever you're doing. With the Samsung Galaxy Tab S6, you've got all the power of a PC. It's sleek, slender and stylish, with a battery life of up to 14 hours. But it's not all work, you know. Get creative with the advanced S Pen, or enjoy better gaming and movies with its epic 10.5-inch screen and quad AKG speakers. We'll also give you an extra £50 off the Tab S6 when you trade in your old tablet or laptop at Curry's PC World. T's and C's apply.
1 in 2 people believe they should check their work email on holiday. 1 in 3 believe it's okay to eat a colleague's lunch. And 1 in 14 believe it's okay to steal loo roll from work. People believe all sorts of strange things. Some people believe that insurance companies try to avoid paying claims. But last year, Zurich paid 99% of insurance claims made by their UK customers. Zurich, an insurance company you can believe in. To find out more, visit zurich.co.uk/99.
Did someone say winter sun? It's that time again. And this year at Jet2 Holidays, we're saying Cyprus. On this incredible island, you get it all. A choice of 4- and 5-star hotels, amazing ancient ruins for culture-packed days out, hiking and cycling trails for active adventures, and plenty of blue flag beaches for soaking up that winter sun. Book Cyprus now with just a £60 deposit. Jet2 Holidays. Package holidays you can trust. APRA and ATOL protected, subject to availability and conditions.
You're in charge of hiring, and Indeed has solutions, like online skills tests, which let a candidate show that they are the right hire. And we give you this toy monkey, who will bang its symbols when the right CV appears on your desktop. Okay, there is no monkey. There is no monkey. But there are online skills tests.
See why more than 250,000 companies in the UK use Indeed for hiring. Visit Indeed.com/try today to try skills tests for free today. Terms and conditions apply.
Influential Conversations from Bloomberg Television. Here's Matt Miller.
Carl Tenenbaum from Northern Trust is with us. Carl, what do you think about these ideas that the Fed may have to work with a certain amount of money that's okayed by Congress to stimulate the economy further?
Well, Matt, at the outset, I'll say that as long as the helicopter is hovering over my home, I'm very much in favor of that strategy. I think it's clear around the world that monetary authorities are either close to being out of dry powder or long past being out of dry powder. The evidence shows that when rates get very low, the stimulative impact gets minimal. The alternative forms of monetary policy aren't nearly as effective. And fiscal policy has the opportunity to really get into all of the cracks and address some very specific opportunities in the economy, investing in human and physical capital. And so it's very likely that if we do have a slippage, that it's going to have to be the fiscal side, not the monetary, that takes the lead.
How far do we get from here to the magic money tree, Carl? Is modern monetary theory, MMT, going to become a reality?
I think there's an important separation between the two that needs to be reinforced. Occasionally, a central bank needs to lean against some of the excesses that are going on in fiscal policy and elsewhere in the economy. If you compromise their ability to do so, I think in the long run you get worse results.
Hear more interviews like this one on Bloomberg Television, streaming live on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg mobile app, or check your local cable listings. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and at TikTok.